Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. When the 2026 Prague International Chess Festival started, the spotlight naturally goes to the biggest names. The reigning world champion, the top seeds, the established super elite, those above 2700s, close to 2800s. And then there was this guy, Jorden van Foreest. Not unknown, a lot of people know him. He is also an extremely strong player. Not inexperienced, he has played in many tournaments, full of experiences, but not the headline favorite either. He doesn't have the highest rating. He is only 2700, just above a little bit of 2700. But right now, the situation is that after 5 rounds, which is already quite a lot of games, 5 games, that matters a lot. He is leading this tournament 4 out of 5, an incredible score for him. He lost only 1 game in round number 2 and won all of the other 4 games with extraordinary skills. Now, this changes everything because, well, as you guys can see here, this is the results so far, this overall scoreboard, and it's not just about leading this whole tournament, because once you reach first place in an event like this, which is one of the Prague International Chess Festival is one of the highest leveled or one of the major events in the chess world, I could say, the challenge is no longer about surprising people, it's about defending your position under pressure. Because as you can see right now, he is in first place, and then we have Nurtebak, David, well actually there's David Navarra and David Anton, who are all following pretty close right behind him. So now everyone is chasing you. All the field knows that you are in the lead, and definitely when you're in the lead, you feel a lot of pressure. You know that you're in a good situation, you've played well, but you definitely do not want any of the other players to score higher than you. And now every half point simply matters. A draw is good, but you should not lose games, because if you lose games, the players behind you will just simply catch up easily. So in this round, in round number 5, Jorden, he faced one of the most dangerous and unpredictable players in modern chess, and he is from the United States, and he is Hans Niemann. This wasn't just another game. It was a test of maturity, I could say, in my opinion, and a test of nerves, a test of whether his tournament, this lead that he has, is just temporarily or is it deserved. So what makes this game so fascinating was it isn't just the result, but it's actually how the fact that he handled the pressure, he played extremely precise, the decisions that he made, the timing, he used his time well, and the psychological balance between ambition and control. So a lot of things that we can learn from this game. And now let's jump into round number 5, which is a very good and decisive game, I could say. Let's look at this game that kept Jorden in his lead, and also because there was because how to say, this is where a strong tournament, this starts turn into a serious title bid. Everyone is fighting for first place right now. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into this game where it is round number 5, and Jorden is with the white pieces playing against Hans Niemann. Hans Niemann has a higher FIDE rating than he has, higher than him for 20 points actually. All right, but now let's jump into this game and see move by move how did Jorden eventually increase his advantage and wins this game. So the game starts. Oops, what's happening? Why is it suddenly all dark? Oh, I guess I opened actually quite a lot too much apps or nothing. But anyways, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight t3, and this is it's called after c5, this is the Queen's Gambit decline now, but before this is more of the Anglo-Indian, quite weird names. But after c5, this somehow transfers after c takes d5, this goes into the Tarrasch. Well, here also for white, there are some options like going e3, which is also common as well, and also like bishop g5 ideas. C takes d5 is also one of the most common options here for the white pieces, and black plays the move c takes d4. Actually, this position or this opening has a lot of complex lines. Also, black can go knight takes d5 if he wants, and then there's e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, takes, bishop b4 check, where you have a ton of exchanges, and goes into a position like this, another exchange, and after this, short castle, and then bishop c4. This is all theory, and even though white has much faster development and also greater control of the center, but the point is that, as you can see here, these pawns are quite weak, as you can see, because they're pushed way too high up the board, and also these files and the diagonals are quite open up, so it could become a problem for white, and white needs to be careful not to open too much of his position. But in this game here, instead of playing knight takes d5, and also e takes d5 is a possible line as well, although after e takes d5 there's like bishop g5 lines, or you could also maybe like play d takes c5 if you want to play for this isolated center pawn in black's territory. Alright, but however, the game plays on with c takes d4, and after queen takes d4, e takes d5. So black has this central isolated pawn, which is like a very common type of position that happens a lot in chess openings, where one of the sides gets a pawn like this. Even though the problem is that it's really hard, well, like black here, for instance, needs a lot of pieces to defend this pawn, but also at the same time there's knight c6 ideas and then d4 ideas to gain control of the d4 square, and this pawn on d5 can also control a lot of important squares. So there's pros and cons definitely for central isolated pawns. So here this is still in the opening, and Jorden here plays pretty fast and played e4. And after d takes e4, queen takes d8, king takes d8, and now black can no longer castle because he had moved his king. But here, knight g5. White temporarily sacrificed a pawn, but now is threatening to take it back by attacking two of these pawns, threatening knight f7 and knight takes e4 at the same time. So here black plays the move bishop e6, which is also theory, because here if you play something like king e8 back, this is not good, because after bishop c4 now this pawn on f7 is basically just falling, and now black again has to play bishop e6 or something, takes, but this structure is just even worse than playing bishop e6 immediately. So king e8 is definitely a waste of move, and bishop e6 makes total sense. And after a3, this is all opening moves. The point is that here if white takes on e6 and gains the bishop pair, this is possible, but after f takes e6, now if you play bishop c4 to attack this pawn, there's king e7. Even though this structure seems quite ugly for black, but black is up a pawn nonetheless. And after, for example, short castle, king f7 gets to activate this bishop, let's say rook e1 to attack the pawn. But now there's even bishop b4 to pin this knight and the rook. So already black is having the slight advantage. So white definitely needs to be careful here, but like 96 it is possible. But instead a3 was played to prevent this very annoying pin of bishop b4. And now black here played knight bd7. Here g3 was played. Well, Jorden spent some time thinking here because this might already be out of theory for him. But actually I think here three options work: knight e6, knight ge4, and knight ce4. All of these moves work, but maybe Jorden also wanted to get out of Han's comfort zone or his home preparation, like these opening preparations, and he decided to go for some dubious options by playing this move g3, about to fianchetto his bishop with bishop g2, which makes perfect sense as well. And here Hans plays rook c8, bishop g2 attacking this pawn, even though like white is temporarily down a pawn, but again temporarily, and this e4 pawn is just simply hanging, and white can take it anytime he wants. So here after bishop g2, bishop c4 was played, preventing white from castling and creating some trouble here. knight ge4 was played, and after knight takes e4, and bishop c5. Now this position, I could say that black is so far having a slightly faster development than white does, and also these two bishops looks quite scary with those full control of the diagonals and threatening ideas of going rook e8 to pin this knight and the king, and threatening f5 ideas, so scary. But here white have this only move that could keep the position's advantage on his side, and the move is to go bishop f4, which was played by Jorden in the game. This is a very accurate move where actually he spent not too long. But the point is that here, knight e4, I just realized that he spent 40 minutes thinking and played knight takes e4. And then he spent 2 minutes and played bishop f4, which is the follow-up idea. So after bishop f4 here, the point is that rook e8 here no longer has its effect. Because there's just simply long castle and the king is completely safe. Because there's no discovered attack anyways. The rook is being blocked by two bishops. If there's only one bishop blocking its way, maybe it could be threatening some ideas of discovered attacks. But here, there's nothing of that kind. And white is completely safe. So you have to bishop f4, and black here played this move f5 to kick this knight on e4 away, which is pretty annoying actually. So Jorden takes with knight c5, gaining the bishop pair. And after rook e8 check, gaining a tempo, bishop e3 was played. Although there's also this quite interesting move, knight e4. And here, let's say black takes on e4. The point is that, you're going to lose this knight anyways, but you're losing it in a more fashionable way and changing black's structure. With f takes e4, this pawn on e4 might become a weakness, but also at the same time, it would be hard for white to castle his king. Long castle here doesn't work because of bishop e2, or actually even bishop f1 also works. The king has to go, and then you just lose the bishop. So white here needs to be careful to evaluate the position correctly, and king's safety is really important. So here Jorden decides that after rook e8, he plays bishop e3, and after knight takes c5, gets his king to safety and also gains a tempo at the same time with long castle, giving this check on the king. So, bishop d3 here was played, but I think it's quite weird why this is considered as a blunder. I don't think it's a blunder. Maybe this double question mark is some kind of mistake, because bishop d3 and the move king e7 both works here. It's true that besides these two moves, all of the other moves are quite words for the black pieces. If you go king c7, you lose this knight, of course. And if you play, the only other option is knight d3. But then after king b1, bishop f1 is coming if you move the king away. There's even ideas of rook d2. And this knight and the bishop, this placement of these two pieces are quite weird. And black is going to be in big trouble. Here he needs to play king b8 or something. And after rook hd1, white gets full control of the d file. If you defend it, unfortunately there's bishop f1. So you have to retreat this knight back, let's say to c5. And then there's ideas of bishop f4, where here white gets full usage of his bishop pair. And now you can see the power of bishop pair. That's really useful in this position, because it is a really open position with all of these full open diagonals for the bishops to cooperate. So white is much better here. Bishop d3 was played. I think there's no problem with this move at all, although it's quite tricky after this move b4. Black needs to react correctly. Hans did by playing knight a4 check. Actually, here after bishop d3, b4, knight a4 check, and here bishop c5 was played. Knight a c4, b a c4, and b a c5, and rook a c5. This is quite weird, because before I analyzed this, and I thought that bishop d3 was completely fine, but then suddenly you see the eval bar suddenly just zips up. And b4 here, knight e4 check. This is not a winning advantage, I could say, because after takes, rook takes, and after king b2, rook e2, king goes up. And here, black needs to play this only move, I could say, to keep the position still fine or like able to play, like the move rook f2, and after rook d3 check, play moves like king e7 or something. Even though here I could like you can't really take as of rook b5. This position I could say like black is up 2 pawns and have a little bit of compensation, I could say. But however, in the game, after king b3, rook b5 was played, which was like a worse option, and now king a4. And suddenly you see that this rook is just about to take this d3 bishop, like the very next move. And the point is that black cannot play rook d5 because of the fact that this bishop is like controlling that square, and suddenly black is just losing material. And here the game is just not like now a one-sided game. Rook b2, but this is completely losing after rook d3, king e7, rook hd1, rook f2, and here after a couple of checks, rook takes h2. It's just basically not enough compensation for the black pieces. Check, and also his king is under pressure. Rook b6, rook takes b6, and after this move, rook g7, black is only up 1 pawn, and also it's not a passed pawn. Basically, completely losing, and after h5, bishop c6, king f6, and rook b7. The final touch here, the move bishop e8. And here Hans resigned because the fact that the king cannot go to here to defend the h5 pawn because of rook g6. And after the king goes here, this endgame is completely winning. So here, and if you play something like this, you lose this pawn on h5. This is definitely losing because you're down a full bishop. So here, Hans resigned this game. This was like a pretty tricky game, I could say here. This move bishop d3. How do I say it? Like for the computer, at first when I was analyzing it, it was completely fine. But then after it analyzes for a couple of minutes or so, suddenly the eval bar just zips up. So here, actually, besides bishop d3, which I think it's the only blunder in this whole game, Hans also played pretty well here in the opening parts. But what I wanted to say is that here, Jorden, he played like every move very accurately, especially after bishop d3 here. He found this move b4 and then the follow-up ideas of bishop c5. So the point is that here, if you don't play this move bishop c5, this follow-up idea b4 bishop c5, white is completely doesn't have any advantage and black is completely fine here. So like for some of us, we might just play king d2 and to attack this bishop goes here, and then we might play moves like king e2 maybe. This is an equalized position. But here, if you play bishop c5, which is the move that I didn't see, and actually I think this is a very nice move. So after takes king b2, because you can't really play king d2, there's bishop e4 ideas. I think these couple of moves, Jorden, he showed us some excellent skills that he had, and then this very smooth endgame that he turned into bishop e8 and winning this very smoothly and cleanly. So right now, this is a very decisive game, decisive whole point. He is now 4 out of 5. The round number 6 is going to start in any time, probably after I finish recording this video. But yeah, this game definitely can learn a lot of things. The opening is quite interesting, and then also the middle games, there are some debates. Well, actually not debates, but some interesting facts there, like b4, bishop c5, those maneuvers that we can learn from. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my recap of this game. There were some funny mistakes, but yeah, and hope you guys enjoyed watching this whole video. Wish Jorden that he could keep his great performance in the rest of the tournament and win more games, show us more great techniques that he has. Alright, but right now, hope you guys enjoyed this whole video. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!